The alarm shrieked through the diplomatic quarters at 0300 hours, and every Velcrin guard on duty felt their blood crystallize in their veins. The security feeds showed an image that defied all protocol, all reason, all survival instinct. 7 juvenile Shirok predators, each the size of a full-grown human, had somehow breached the compound's perimeter and now surrounded the sleeping quarters of Ambassador Arya Voss. Commander Zelvik stared at the holographic display, his 4 eyes widening in species-typical horror. The Sharak were apex predators, from the death world of Krell, 7, creatures of pure hunting instinct with serrated teeth that could shear through starship hull plating. And these weren't adults. These were cubs, which made them infinitely more dangerous. Adult Sharak killed with purpose and efficiency, cubs killed with curiosity and play. "Why aren't you moving?" Zelvik barked at his security team. But even as the words left his mandibles, he knew the answer. Every guard stood frozen at their posts, their weapons drawn but trembling. The Velcrin were a peaceful species, evolved from prey animals on a garden world. The genetic memory of predators triggered something primal in them, something that screamed run louder than any training could override. On the screen, the Shirok cubs prowled in a tightening circle around Arya Voss's bed, the largest one nearly 2 meters at the shoulder, with midnight black fur marked by bioluminescent stripes, pressed its massive head against the transparent security door. Its breath fogged the reinforced polymer with each exhale. "We have to evacuate the human," Zelvik said, but his voice carried no conviction. Every protocol they'd developed, every contingency they'd planned, assumed rational actors. There was no protocol for this. "Commander, the door lock is failing," a junior officer reported, her voice barely above a whisper. They're scratching at the biometric scanner. The acid in their claws is degrading the circuits." Zelvik made a decision born of desperation. He activated the emergency comm directly to Arya's quarters. "Ambassador Voss, this is Commander Zelvik. Remain absolutely still. Do not make any sudden movements. We are attempting—" The feed crackled, and then Arya Voss's sleep-heavy voice cut through. "Zelvik? What's with the alarm? It's the middle of the night cycle. Ambassador, you have 7 Shirok predator cubs attempting to breach your quarters. Repeat, 7 juvenile Shirok. Please remain calm," and the door lock clicked open. Every guard in the security center flinched. Several dropped their weapons. One bolted from the room entirely, and Zelvik couldn't bring himself to call him a coward. The largest cub, Kiro, though no one knew his name yet, pushed through the door first. His siblings followed, their claws clicking against the metal floor in an irregular rhythm that sounded like death's own percussion. They moved with the fluid grace of born killers, all coiled muscle and predatory focus. Arya Voss sat up in bed. She should have screamed. She should have frozen. She should have triggered every survival response. Evolution had coded into human DNA. Instead, she rubbed her eyes, yawned, and looked at the 7 apex predators now filling her modest quarters. "Oh," she said, her voice carrying that peculiar human quality Zelvik had learned to recognize as dangerous calm. "You're the cubs from the conservation ship that docked yesterday." Kiro's head tilted. His bioluminescent stripes pulsed in a pattern Velcrin xenobiologists had identified as aggressive curiosity. Arya swung her legs out of bed, bare feet touching the cold floor. She wore only a thin sleep shirt, completely unarmed, entirely vulnerable. "You escaped, didn't you? Bet the handlers are going crazy looking for you." She stood. In the security center, Zelvik's breathing membrane seized. He was watching a species extinction event in real time. Humans were rare in the galaxy, their numbers few after they'd nearly destroyed themselves before achieving spaceflight. And now, one of their diplomatic representatives was about to be torn apart by— Arya walked directly toward Kiro. The cub's stripes flared bright blue, the color of imminent attack. His siblings spread out in a hunting formation, cutting off escape routes with military precision that was purely instinctual. Arya reached out her hand. "Easy, big guy," she murmured, her voice taking on a musical quality. "I'm not gonna hurt you. You're just curious, aren't you? Just want to explore." Kiro's massive jaws opened, revealing rows of teeth designed to crush and tear. His breath washed over Arya's extended hand. Hot, and carrying the copper smell of the raw meat cubs were fed. Then, impossibly, Arya's fingers touched his nose. The cub froze. "There we go," Arya whispered. "See? I'm not scary. Just another warm-blooded creature. Same as you." Her hand moved slowly, scratching behind one of his auditory ridges. "You're magnificent, aren't you? Look at those markings. You're going to be huge when you grow up." Kiro's stripes shifted from aggressive blue to confused purple, then to something the Velcrin database had no reference for: a warm amber color. The cub leaned into her touch. "Commander," the junior officer breathed. Is she petting it?" Zelvik couldn't answer. Words had abandoned him entirely. One by one, the other cubs approached. Arya greeted each with the same fearless gentleness, running her hands over their armored hides, murmuring nonsense syllables that somehow conveyed safety and acceptance. Within minutes, all 7 apex predators were pressed against her, their purrs, a sound Velcrin researchers had only recorded in prey-consuming contexts, vibrating through the quarters. Arya sat down cross-legged on the floor, and the cubs arranged themselves around her like some ancient pack formation. Kiro rested his head in her lap, his eyes half closing in what could only be described as contentment. "So," Arya said, glancing up at the security camera, "I'm guessing you guys can see this? Maybe someone should contact the conservation ship before they tear the station apart looking for these babies." Zelvik finally found his voice. "Ambassador. How? Why aren't you dead?" Arya laughed, the sound bright and unburdened by fear. "They're cubs, Commander. Babies. Sure, they're predators, but they're also just kids exploring a new place. Probably scared, definitely lost. Looking for something familiar." She scratched Kiro's chin, and the cub's purr intensified. "Besides, humans have this thing where we look at something that could kill us and think, I'm gonna pet it. It's worked out pretty well for us with wolves, big cats, bears, even crocodiles if you're patient enough." "That's insane," Zelvik whispered. "Yeah," Arya agreed, grinning as a smaller cub tried to climb into her lap alongside Kiro. "We get that a lot. We get that a lot." The conservation ship's handlers arrived 20 minutes later, armed with tranquilizers and expecting carnage. Instead, they found Ambassador Arya Voss asleep on the floor, surrounded by a protective circle of predator cubs, with Kiro standing watch over her with the devotion of a guardian. No guard had ventured forward that night. No Velcrin had possessed the courage or the madness to face down 7 Sharak cubs. But a human? A human had simply walked forward, extended her hand, and turned predators into protectors. That was the night the galaxy learned what Earth's survival had already taught its inhabitants. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't the predator, it's the creature that refuses to see itself as prey.